Nobody really debates God. They debate the version they were handed before they ever opened the file. A scandal, a headline, a bitter memory, a traumatic church experience, a lazy summary of a book they never actually read. That is usually enough to build a profile. And once the profile is built, the verdict starts leaning before the evidence is even logged. Cruel. Distant. Controlling. Silent. Made up. Hitchens called him a tyrant. Dawkins called him a delusion. Nietzsche declared him dead. A soldier came home from Korea and never walked into a church again. They all rejected God, but not one of them went back to the original file. Which is interesting, because in any other case, that would be called tampering with the investigation. 4 philosophers, 1 soldier, 0 receipts. Detectives do not close cases from hallway rumors. They go back to the file, turn on the lamp, check the face against the record. And the deeper I run this case, the less convinced I am that the God many humans reject is the God this record is actually describing. That is the tension. Because if the profile is wrong, the verdict is wrong. And if the verdict is wrong, humanity has been arguing with a sketch instead of a subject. So for the next few minutes, I am not asking for belief. I am reopening the file. The profile. Start with the profile, not church culture. Not the loudest human online.
It's not always comfortable, but it is necessary for growth.
Not the worst representative who ever wore God's name like a borrowed badge. Start with the record. And this is where the case starts to turn. The biblical text does not introduce God like a theory humans invented to survive the dark. It introduces him like someone who was already there before the room was built. Not abstract, not symbolic, not a force, not a mood. Personal. He speaks, he defines, he commands.
Listen to me.
Push my hand. This is my decree.
He responds, he reveals, he acts, he loves. That last detail keeps breaking the caricature. Because when Moses records God describing himself, the file gives this line: the Lord, compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness. That is not sentiment. That is the claim. That profile has been on file for 3,400 years. Most humans who reject God have never actually read it, and it does not fit the version many humans keep in circulation. So the question shifts. Not do I like God? Not yet. Have I been looking at the right profile? Because if the profile in the text is different from the profile in the culture, then something went wrong in transmission. And once the profile is wrong, everything downstream bends with it. The distortion. So where did the distortion enter? The file points back further than empire, further than denominations, further than modern arguments. It starts with suspicion. Did God really say, that is the breach? Not first, the denial of power, the suspicion of character. Can he be trusted? Did he really say it? Did he really mean it? Is he holding something back? Would human life be better if humans ruled themselves? Then the second line lands, you will be like God. That is not appetite. That is authority. Who defines truth? Who defines good? Who gets final say? And the record makes another claim here, one that keeps showing up whenever the profile gets bent out of shape. It claims there is a counterfeiter in the room, not a creator, a counterfeiter. The file says Satan masquerades as an angel of light, that matters. Because a counterfeit only works if there is something real to imitate. Truth gets imitated. Good gets bent. Freedom gets sold as self-rule.
We are leveled up. You've got to see this vibe.
Light gets mimicked just well enough to mislead. The pattern never died. It just learned new language. And the more I study human behavior, the less this looks like a missing evidence problem. It looks like a misdirection problem. Because many humans do not reject the unseen. They reject one version of it while embracing 10 others. Curses. Ghosts. Energy. Aliens. Simulations. Signs in the dark. The appetite for mystery is still there. What is missing is not spiritual curiosity. It is trust in this particular file. That is a different problem, and it belongs in the case. The misunderstanding. Now the objection comes back. If God is real, why is the world like this? Suffering, corruption, abuse, loss. Fair question. Somewhere right now, a human is watching war unfold and asking where God is. It is one of the oldest questions in the file. But the question assumes God promised safety. Check the record. He did not promise safety. He promised presence. That is a different claim, and it has been tested in every century that left blood on the ground. But even that question leaves fingerprints, because it assumes things are not merely unpleasant. It assumes they are wrong, which means the moral problem never leaves the room. Then humans point to the church. Hypocrisy, scandal, failure, predators in religious clothing. And they say, there, that is the evidence against God. But the closer reading is harder than that. Those failures exist in schools, governments, families, and institutions of every kind. The difference is this. In the church, the failure contradicts the claim, which means a standard is in the room being violated. That does not clear the church. It sharpens the case. Are humans judging Christ by what he taught, or by humans who ignored him while using his name for cover? Those are not the same file. And the record never pretends humans get it right. It says they do not. That is not a flaw in the system. That is the diagnosis. The harder objections stay open. They deserve their own table. But this one lands here. The existence of hypocrisy is not evidence that the claim never existed. Sometimes, it is evidence that the claim was clear enough to betray. And that is harder to dismiss than it sounds. So the real question is not just whether God exists. It is whether the version being rejected is the one the record actually describes. Because if the profile is wrong, the verdict is wrong. And if the verdict is wrong, then a lot of modern certainty is just confidence built on a corrupted copy of the file. If this case got under your skin, there are more files, more evidence, more investigations. This is Gospel Noir. The file is still open. The deeper I read it, the less this looks like a lack of evidence, and the more it looks like a refusal to reopen the case. You know what to do. Subscribe, like, and if something sparked, share it with someone chasing freedom.